Hi, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. This February is really, really special because I am celebrating 5 years of being a full-time self-employed artist. It means so much to me to be able to do what I love every single day, and I couldn't do what I do without all of your support. So thank you all so, so much. And I know some of you have been with me since the very beginning. Others might be a little bit newer, so I just thought I would take a few minutes today to kind of share my story with you guys and just share my artistic journey so far. So let's go all the way back to the very beginning. I've always loved art and loved to draw ever since I could hold a pencil. Um, and my dad is an artist, so I have some of that kind of genetic component uh, of artistic talent as well. But all the adults in my life always said that art was not a good way to make money. And so I never really thought of it as a career path until more recently, even though I really loved it. So, I was always good at school, not just art, but I was good at English and science and kind of the more traditional school subjects. I got good grades and things. And since I got good grades and I had good test scores, I was lucky enough to get a full ride scholarship to my local college. And as far as college goes, like growing up, I always kind of received that message, that, like not in these explicit terms, but like I had the sense that if I didn't go to college, I would end up living in a box in the Walmart parking lot. And that was kind of, my motivation for going to college is that I thought you had to, basically. Um, and I've really changed my opinion on that. Like, I mean, I'm very happy that I was able to go to college. Um, I was lucky enough to receive that scholarship where I could go. Um, but if I had been in a situation of having to pay tuition or get a bunch of student loans, um, I think I'd be pretty pissed off. Actually, I mean, I knew a lot of professors in college, even who still had lots of student debt, and I mean, so many people, it seems like, just have this endless student debt, and it seems like it doesn't really pay off all the time. I mean, of course, certain professions you're going to need to go to college, like being a doctor or something like that. But at least for the arts, I'm not sure it's worth it. And that's probably a pretty controversial thing to say, but you know, it is what it is. Um, I learned some good stuff. I mean, I was able to receive that education for free. So, I mean, for a free education, it was great. If I had to go into debt for it, I'd be pissed. So, really, what I learned more from was from my apprenticeship. I apprenticed with a local artist named Dave Davis. He started the Art on the Corner program here in Grand Junction, which was the first sculpture loan program of its kind. And basically, what it is an opportunity for sculptors to essentially rent out sculpture to a city for a year. And so Dave started this program where sculptors would lend an artwork to a city for a year in exchange for an honorarium. So it's really great because when you put a lot of time, effort, materials into a life-size piece, it commands a high price. And that's a price that most people probably can't afford. So while you're waiting for that big buyer to come and buy that piece, you can still be making money off of it, and you have the opportunity to kind of get your art out there for anyone to see. Because I think art sometimes can be kind of a very elitist sort of experience, but with public art, um, when the cities sponsor stuff like that, you can have an art walk through downtown. And especially now with COVID, sometimes that's people's only avenue to actually encounter art is out in public, because a lot of galleries and museums are closed, a lot of schools are closed and things. So I think all that is really important. But anyways, that was like a super big tangent because I'm trying to talk about my apprenticeship with Dave. And I just learned so much from him. So the way that started was I had a friend in college who heard that this local artist was looking for apprentices who would be interested in both painting and sculpture, which I gather is somewhat rare. It seems like most artists, they either do paintings or they do sculptures. Most don't do both. But I was really interested in doing both. And that was an interest that wasn't really being nurtured in college for me. Um, I don't want to badmouth anybody because I know a lot of people have a great college experience, and I had a decent experience, but um, the kinds of art that I wanted to make, I didn't really feel like I had a good example for that in college because everybody wants you to be very specialized. They want you to learn to make bronze, or they want you to learn to paint, or they want you to learn to do pottery, but they don't seem to want people to combine things, to do pottery and combine it with bronze or whatever it is. They want you to be very specialized. And I didn't like that. And the other thing that they say in college all the time is that you have to have this cohesive body of work in order to get noticed by galleries, which a cohesive body of work really just means that you make the same shit over and over again. And I hate that. I've seen a lot of artists kind of become slaves to that, where you make one piece that sells, and then the gallery comes back and says, "Hey, we want like a jillion more of these exact same thing because it sold." And artists end up getting pigeonholed into doing one thing. And I never wanted to be like that. So, I've been able to kind of find my own way marketing through social media, and that's been a whole process, which a lot of people have helped me with, and we'll get to that soon. But yeah, Dave was kind of the first person who helped me see some of the possibilities with that because he hadn't really gone the super traditional gallery route either. He did more of his own marketing and that kind of stuff on Facebook, um, even though he was older. He was, when we met, he was in his 60s, and so, um, even then he was using Facebook and things like that, and doing more of that rather than going through galleries. And so he taught me a lot of possibilities with that. And he also taught me a lot of possibilities about using different materials in my work because I was really interested in repurposing things that people might consider trash. I was interested in combining materials, but I didn't really have like the raw skills to know how to do that effectively. And Dave had done a lot of that kind of stuff. So he taught me so much about, different materials that can be used and processes, and the idea that like everything doesn't have to be so fancy. Like a lot of artists think that if you're going to do art, you have to have gold leaf and you have to have the fanciest paint and the fanciest brushes and the fanciest canvas and the fanciest frame and all that, and you really don't need all that. You can make art with anything. You can make art with trash. You can make art with stuff you find at the Home Depot or whatever. It doesn't have to be something fancy. So Dave taught me a lot of options about that. And I think I would really recommend to anybody that wants to be a full-time artist or anybody that just wants to learn about art, learn from an artist. Don't go to college unless, if it's free, sure, go. But if you're going to have to pay for college, don't go to college, for art at least. Go find an artist who, has experience working in a style and with materials that you like and that you're interested in, and learn from that person, because I think that for me, that was a lot more valuable than learning in a classroom setting. And, maybe it's different now. I don't know. I was in college from about 2009 to 2014. And at that time, they were still teaching kind of the traditional gallery model. They weren't really teaching much about social media. A little bit, but, they weren't really teaching people to promote themselves. They were teaching people to rely on galleries. And I don't like that. I've been to Aspen, and it seems like even in Aspen, where they supposedly are a real art town, there's not always a lot of respect for art. I've seen galleries that are using somebody's $5,000 painting as a doorstop, and I'm not joking about that. I've actually seen that, and I don't want to put my art in an environment like that and give up 60% of the profits to somebody else. It's better to, for me at least, it's better to promote myself. Even if I'm selling the art for a lower price overall, I'm keeping 100% of the profit, so it works out. and it's more economical, I guess. It's more feasible to be able to put your art out there where anybody can buy it. If you put it out at a lower price and you promote it yourself, then it's a win-win because you get to keep all your money, and then somebody who maybe couldn't afford a $5,000 painting in Aspen, can maybe afford to get some of your work. So that's worked out for me. But anyways, that was another big long tangent. What I'm trying to say is that my apprenticeship with Dave I found was more valuable than my art degree. So I was still working at Manti Heights. That was my first job, and I worked there from the time I was 15 till I was about 22. So all the way through high school and college.
Gravy on my dinner roll, gravy on my dinner roll.
And then I got a different job at a chiropractor, worked with them for a while, and then worked at St. Mary's for about a year. And then at that point, that's when I launched my career as a full-time artist. So how that kind of happened is, I had gotten my degree, but I wasn't really sure what I was doing with it or what I was doing with my life. I was just kind of doing my job and trying to save money, and I wasn't really sure where my life was going, I guess. Uh, but I finally, I was doing on the side, in addition to my day job, I was doing a lot of art, and I worked with my stepdad, Randy, in his shop. He builds tanks and all kinds of cool stuff. So he taught me a lot about welding, and Dave did too. Um, and so I built my first life-size metal piece called Hugo. It's this giant metal head made out of like a jillion different pieces of steel and different parts and stuff. And he was so much fun to build. And I entered him into a show in one of those art on loan programs I told you about in Carbondale. He got in, and that was kind of my first big public art debut, I suppose you could say. So one of Randy's friends had seen some of my art. We got to talking, and he bought a couple pieces from me, and he really liked Hugo. So we became good friends. We talked about Hugo for over a year, and he even ended up going to a different exhibit. And Bob purchased Hugo for his cabin in Uray. So that was kind of like my first really big art sale. I'd sold a few little pieces here and there before that, but never for a lot of money, or never a really big sale until then. And so it was when I sold Hugo that Shawnee, my boyfriend, suggested that I pursue art full time. And I don't know if I ever would have really had the bravery to do that without him suggesting it and supporting me in it. Because, like I said, I had never really thought of that as a super viable career path. And, I kind of tried to think about that a little bit sometimes, but I just never really let myself imagine how that could be, until he pushed me to do it. And Shawnee really believed in me, and I'm so grateful to him for that, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am now. So he made a lot of sacrifices for me too. I mean, it was a pretty rough go there at first. So when I first started out, I was working at St. Mary's, and I kind of just used that time at St. Mary's, some of it, to prepare for the launch of my artistic career. So I had a desk job, and I used some of that time to build my website and build an online store and get all my art up there and everything. So it got to the point where by the time I actually quit, I was really ready to launch. I had my LLC formed, I had my website launched, I had my online store launched, and everything was pretty well ready to go. And I had enough money saved up that I could live off of my savings for a little while. Not lavishly, but I could function for a little while off of savings. And that's a really big thing. I think if you're going to find success as an artist, or even just as a person in the society, you have to think about saving money, and you have to really think before you spend any money at all. I mean, I'll think before I spend even $1 on something, So there's a lot of ways that you can just end up throwing your money out the window without even realizing it. Like, if you go get a coffee and a muffin every morning, that's $10 right there. If you have a gym membership, if you know, get your hair done a lot or you get your nails done a lot, all that stuff adds up. So, I cut my own hair. I don't get my nails done because they get covered in paint and epoxy anyway. I try not to spend money on anything frivolous because it's a lot easier to not spend money than to make more money for me. But, anyways, so I had enough that I could live frugally for a year or two, even if I didn't make any money. And I didn't make a lot at first. I kind of floundered for a bit. But I started off making more life-size art because I had done well with Hugo and I wanted to do more of that. I enjoyed it. And so as I was making more life-size art, I entered it into different exhibits and I received some awards and recognition, and those came with money. So, for the first couple years, I did make most of my living based on creating life-size art, putting it in different exhibits, and winning awards with it. And that worked out really well for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. Um, for the next couple years after that, I made a lot of money with commissions. Well, not a lot of money, but I made the money I made. I was mostly made from commissions, um, and that's just kind of living in a small town and having lived here most of my life. A lot of people know me, and I think for me, it's been really valuable just having that word of mouth that I do all my email marketing, I make videos, I do social media, and so when people think of art in this town, they think of me, and so a lot of times people will come to me because their friend of a friend knows me and they need an art project done or whatever, so I end up getting a lot of business that way. And I don't live in like a super affluent community or anything like that. I'd say it's very middle of the road, if not low middle. It's not like people have lots of money around here, but I've been able to do okay for myself because I try to not spend a lot of money, and I try to do my own promotion instead of outsourcing that to a gallery or to a social media company or whatever. Um, and Shaunaki's been really helpful for me with that too, because he has a really good business sense about things, and he did all the social media for the library, which is where he works. That was what he was doing for his job, and even before that, he was really involved with social media. So he's just been really good at giving me business ideas, and yeah, because the whole business aspect of this is not something that comes super naturally to me. So I've been able to learn a lot from him, and I've had a lot of good support from other people in my family too, like Randy, my stepdad, has always been there when I need him, and he always has a bobcat, so that I can move my sculptures. Because one big barrier to entry with these life-size sculptures, putting them in exhibits, is how do you move them? You have this giant cement sculpture or metal sculpture; they're huge, and so you need heavy equipment to be able to lift it and get it into the truck and get it over to Denver or wherever it's going. So Randy, has let me use his bobcat and his trailer. And just everybody in my life has been really supportive of what I do, and that's really meant a lot to me. Yeah, so yeah, first couple years doing life-size art, next couple years doing commissions, and then this last year, I had some good luck with murals. I hadn't done a lot of murals before, but I did one with the kids at New Emerson School, and that was a really fun project. And then since then, I've done several more murals. And I've got a couple projects booked for this year too, and I've really enjoyed it because I love painting and sculpting. I love them both equally, and so I'm really glad that I'm able to do public art that involves sculpting and public art that involves painting too. It's just really great to be able to do that, and I think it's important to kind of have like a lot of different things in your wheelhouse. Or at least for me, it's been important. Some artists really specialize and they just get really good at one thing, and that's a good way to do it too. I'm not knocking that, but for me, it's been really great to just kind of like apply for everything. I try to apply for everything, even if it's not something I've totally done before, just because I can probably figure it out. And it's been great to just kind of get some of that on the job experience. yeah, I think a lot of people can kind of limit themselves and think, oh, I don't know how to do that, so I'm not even going to try, you know. But I'm here to say, well, you might as well try because you might do it and you might do a good job. So yeah, but that's kind of the story of you know how I've done as a full time artist. I'm really excited to be here, doing what I love every day, and I couldn't do it without the support of all of my fans and my friends and all of you. So thank you all so much for being here and watching my videos. Please like and subscribe. And, if you have your own stories to share about your career as a full time artist, or if it's something that you'd like to do, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or shoot me a message or something. I'd love to chat with you. Um, yeah. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you all so much for the love. Much love to all of you. Bye.